Compton, California was established in 1888, and there's a small area of Richland Farms that not many people know about. But Compton is better known for its gangster rap about social violence in the 80s and 90s. I grew up on the east side of Los Angeles that also was going through difficult times in the 80s and 90s, and my mom thought at the time that it was better for me to come spend time, my weekends in Compton. In 1989, my cousin and his family purchased a home, and that became my weekend home. 4 years ago, when I got a divorce, it brought me back home to Compton. And I stood and I rented my cousin's house. But this time it was a little different. I co-parent my 9-year-old son, Julian. So for many of you parents know that a 9-year-old, keeping him entertained is a job in itself. But we did. One day we were driving down Compton Boulevard, and out of nowhere, a horse comes out of the street. And it might as well have been a unicorn because we were excited. We were shocked. So I pull over and I get as close to the sidewalk as I can. And my son and I jump out of the car and we get close to the horse. And I pull out my phone and I asked the man if I can take a couple photos, and he said, yeah. And I asked him, I said, hay un lugar donde mi hijo puede montar caballos. He's a ranchero. And I asked if my 9-year-old can ride a horse somewhere here in Compton. And so he gestured that down the street, down the creek, there were horses. There was a community that had horses. And so, I didn't want to act too excited, but I wanted to know if there was a place where I can ride horses too. And so it brought us to the Compton Junior Posse on Caldwell. And I talked to Anthony, who I met, who's a young man from the Compton Cowboys. And he gives me a little bit of information. He gives me a phone number to the executive director. But we start talking about what's happening in Compton and the horses, and I was just so excited. I met Don Manuel. Ranchero also has horses in Compton. And immediately he puts my son on a horse and he takes him around in the street and he shows me the ranch. We talk a little bit about the horses. We're still shocked. So I'm standing at the Compton Junior Posse and I'm letting this all sink in. I'm in Compton and I'm hanging out with black cowboys and rancheros, and it was just something different for me. So Randy from the Compton Cowboys calls me and we start talking about the lack of information about the equestrian community here in Compton. We noticed that there wasn't any name. There isn't anything that says Richland Farms. There isn't a cross light. There isn't a street sign like in many other communities around Compton, like Palos Verdes or Pico Rivera. There isn't one street sign that says horse crossing up ahead. So we talked a little bit about that. Fast forward to October, I'm riding a horse down the Compton Creek and I'm crossing Alondra, and I have this experience. I fell on my horse. And it was a painful, painful situation. I didn't know what to do. I felt alone. I couldn't walk. A 1,500-pound animal just smashed my boot and my spur. And I felt broken. I felt alone. I try to get up and I reach up for my horse and he darts. I couldn't grab him. I couldn't step. And he runs out and I'm standing in the middle of the street. And luckily, a lady, pulls over and she says, get in. She tells her son to go in the back seat and she takes me down the street to look for my horse. And I'm worried to death. I'm like, you can get hit by a car, it can cause an accident. But I get to the ranch and my horse is at the ranch and the man that I buy the sod from, he's holding on to him, and he's like, I have your horse. He's like, you all right? And I wasn't, but I said I was. And I get my horse, and I limp my way back. I call my mom, and at the time I tell my mom, I found my horse, and she was worried. And then in December, my mom passed away. And it was a very tough time. But before she passed away, she got to meet my horse, and she got to see the ranches in Compton. And I like to think that that is what she envisioned Compton was when she sent me on the weekends to my cousin's house. But to this day, we continue to work on bringing those type of improvements to the community of Compton, to the Richland Farms community. Because after all that happened, stories came up, and people were talking about when they fell on their horse, and this person fell on this horse, and it became a joke, and they were laughing. It was probably to make me feel better. And it did make me feel better because I didn't feel alone. And so I want people to know that the Richland Farms community exists. Compton Cowboys exist. Black Cowboys are here. Rancheros are here. We're all here.